Let's do this. I'm pregnant. So I was not going to record much about my symptoms until towards the end of my first trimester, but so much has happened. Well, not that so much has happened in the last 2 weeks. These last 2 weeks have been the most longest weeks of my life. I am 6 weeks today, but there's just so much that I feel like I want to share and I don't want to forget. You know, all these feelings are still super fresh. So yeah, I am 6 weeks today. I can't believe it. You know, the fear and the anxiety and everything is just at an all-time high. You know, the thing with pregnancy after loss is you want to be able to enjoy every single moment, and you want to be able to savor it and be in it. But those fears, those haunting fears they're just there, and they're gonna creep in, and they creep in at the most random times. I'm very observant with my body. I'm a very analytical person. So yeah, it's been a challenge to navigate those fears, but you have to, right? This is a completely new pregnancy. It's completely different. It has nothing to do with anything that has previously happened. And that's just what I have to constantly remind myself, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So might as well enjoy it, but it is so much easier said than done. So I'm gonna go way back to ovulation, because my ovulation this cycle was a little bit different. So we did take a break in between the loss and this pregnancy, and I'm really happy that we did that. I'm really happy that I had that time to just get back into a positive mental state. We were actually going to wait longer, like we were going to take a longer break, but just heat of the moment, we're like, why not? I did have a period in between, and my cycle did extend. So it was longer, like I don't remember the exact day at this point, and my app won't show me because I switched it over. My period was definitely different. So usually before I would get my period, I would spot for a day or two, and I'd spot day or two after it's done. And this time it just came. It was not 24 hours of just bleeding. It was like a full 3 days, maybe 4. But there was nothing, it was different. It was so much different. So I guess after what happened, something happened with my hormones where they were leveling out, or who knows. So my ovulation for this pregnancy happened later than usual. I always feel ovulation cramps. Like I always feel some kind of cramps when I ovulate. I feel it, I know what it is, but the next day or even a few hours later, it usually goes away, and it didn't this time. I was pretty crampy and bloated for that entire week, what feels like. And I did do some kind of exercise that was targeting my glutes and kind of slightly on my lower back, where my lower back was really sore for a couple of days. Now, nothing crazy that I needed to be concerned about, but I did feel that there was inflammation because I was working out. And I don't know if my lower back was inflamed specifically because of that, or if ovulation had something to do with that. Because over this whole journey, there was a point where my lower back was inflamed from ovulation, and of course I thought I was pregnant that cycle. But this time, I didn't really know what to attribute it to. And I promised myself that I would not test until after my expected period. I just didn't want to do it. If you test too early, it could be negative, but you could be pregnant, or it could be false, and I didn't want to do that. However, a few days before my expected period, I was so nauseous. I almost thought I had food poisoning at one point. But you know, food poisoning, like I wasn't throwing up, like I didn't actually have that. I've had food poisoning before, and this wasn't it. But I was so nauseous. I thought it might have been something that I ate that my body just wasn't trying to get rid of or something. I don't know, there was a bunch of things going on in my mind. That night when that nausea started, the entire night, I barely slept. Like I would wake up every 2 hours on the dot, pretty much anytime that I wanted to switch sleeping positions, and my head would be spinning. Like I don't think I felt that kind of nausea in a very long time, if ever. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and going to get a drink of water because I wanted to just like chug the water and kind of force myself to throw up a little bit. I also put herbal tinctures in it, some vitamin C, some elderberry, just some kind of vitamins to hopefully help. And I did throw up. I only threw up what I had just drank. So my stomach was like regurgitating at one point, trying to like force whatever was deeper in and out, but it wasn't, because it wasn't food poisoning. That it wasn't trying to get rid of that food. It wasn't looking at that as a bad thing. So that only helped so much. I tried to go back to sleep, and at one point, I think it was already kind of morning, like 5 or 6 a.m. I was like, I cannot lay flat. So I went to sleep on the couch and I kind of put my head on the armrest because I needed it to be elevated. I couldn't lay down, like my head was spinning and I couldn't understand what this was. Also, that night of the nausea, I had what I am now labeling as implantation bleeding. So I went to the bathroom and there was just the itty bittiest pink, like nothing. I did for a second think that my period was gonna come in a few days, but it wasn't like my usual spotting that I used to have before getting my period, but just the itty bittiest little bit of pink. And now I guess that was implantation bleeding. So I know that it's not super common for everyone, but it does happen. And I guess I had just the teensy bit of it. That did make me think even more that my period was coming, because I did used to get nausea as a PMS symptom. I used to get spotting as a PMS. I think I've had every single possible PMS symptom that I thought was a pregnancy symptom, and it drives you nuts. There was actually one cycle, I think last summer, where my boobs started hurting before my period, and my boobs never hurt. I was like, that's it, that's the cycle. And it wasn't. So there's really no way, or for me at least, there was no way of telling whether or not I was actually pregnant until taking an actual pregnancy test. The next day, after this lovely nausea, I take a test. I take a test almost knowing that it's going to be positive because of just everything that I was feeling, but of course you don't know until you know. I took a test when my husband was out getting a haircut. It was positive. And now when he comes home, I share this amazing news with him, and his reaction was kind of awkward. I think he just said something along the lines of, oh, nice, or something like that. I don't know. Honestly, looking back at his reaction, looking back on my reaction also was a little awkward. It's just, how do you react a second time? I mean, you're excited, you are excited, but are you allowed to feel as excited as you want to? Are you ready to feel as excited as you want to, as you are? And I don't have the answer to that, because, you know, our first reaction that has been in other videos, that was the first time I've ever seen a positive pregnancy test. This time around, it's positive. Awesome. Can we get excited yet? Can we, jump for joy? So this time around, we decided not to tell anyone. That first time, I called my mother right away. This time, we are not telling anybody until a few weeks later. We haven't really come up with an actual date. We are going to New York for Thanksgiving, where my family is, so I figured we have the opportunity to tell them in person, why not use it? And I already have like this cute way that I want to tell my mother and tell my family, so we'll see if it actually plays out, no pressure. Okay, now my symptoms. I feel like the bulk of my symptoms so far have been from implantation to about 4-ish weeks, 4.5 weeks. That was when I felt insane nausea, like bedridden nausea. I didn't vomit, I didn't throw up or anything, but the nausea and the exhaustion, like I took a nap. I don't take naps. I hate taking naps. If I take a nap, I don't sleep at night. I'm not a nap person, but I took several during that first week. I mean, I did find out that I was pregnant a few days before my period, so I found out so early. Oh, another thing that made me, obviously this was a pregnancy symptom. The night that I thought I had the implantation bleeding and I started to feel the nausea, I had extreme heartburn. I have never experienced heartburn before, and Dr. Google says that technically it's supposed to be in your chest. My stomach was on fire for a good 3 to 4 days every single time I ate. I thought it was what I was eating, but I was eating the exact same things that I always eat, and that was not pleasant. Like, I felt like something was burning a hole through my stomach. Like whatever I was eating was just not agreeing with it. But for those first few days, that first week and a half, I just wanted to take it as easy as possible. I wanted to make sure that implantation, everything was fine. Like I didn't want to move as much. Like all I wanted to do was just sit down or lay down. And it's such a vulnerable time. Like it's just such a, like your body knows what to do, but it's just so vulnerable. Like you want to make sure that you're not doing anything that can negatively harm it. All of this to say, to touch back on the fears and the anxieties. When I tell you that I would hold my breath every single time I went to the bathroom, I am not exaggerating. Sometimes I would even wipe before peeing. Sorry if this is TMI, this is what it is. But I would wipe before peeing just to make sure that everything was fine and I could just pee in peace, because I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but well, that didn't work. That first week or two was just so vulnerable and so scary. And all you can do is have hope and pray. I don't wanna cry. That first week or two was just so vulnerable. I mean, the fears, like I said, is just, they're through the roof, and for good reason, I think. My anxiety just completely went through the roof on top of everything when I was feeling nausea, right? And for the first like week and a half-ish, it depends on when you're counting it. But that same day that I had a loss previously, like that same time in the cycle or period or pregnancy, that same day I no longer was nauseous. Like my nausea went away around that time and cramping started. So you can just imagine what was going through my mind. I think that day, I really don't think I'm exaggerating, I think I went to the bathroom like every half hour just to make sure that everything was okay, you know, because I wasn't really crampy before, and then all of a sudden I had cramps. So that was a rough day. But I got through it, it's fine, everything's fine. Obviously, it's just, it's scary. I don't know how else to describe it. Anyway, this last week, like after all of that nausea and cramping, this last week, from like week 5 to 6, I feel like there were times where I forgot I was pregnant. The only thing that was really reminding me were my boobs. My boobs have like tripled in size. They are heavy as hell. They hurt a lot. Like sometimes if I'm laying on them in not the right position, I mean, it just hurts. They're heavy. I hear about all these experiences like in early pregnancy, first trimester, of people being so sick and vomiting and like can't eat anything, and not that I'm wishing for it. By no means am I wishing for it. I'm grateful that I feel more or less good. Plus, this is only week 6, like who knows what's gonna happen. So I also have not really worked out. I think in the last couple of weeks I worked out twice, and both of those times were like on a Monday, like start fresh, and I have felt good. I did super light workouts, like super, super light, just to get the blood flowing. I do go on walks on occasion, just so I'm getting some kind of activity, but the workouts in the gym with like weights, I feel good doing them, I feel good during them, but the anxiety that I kind of have after working out, I don't know if it's really worth it yet. Because, you know, you're working out, there's blood flowing through your body. This last time that I worked out, I got really crampy after, and I don't really know why. I, in my mind, have attributed it to blood flow and just movement, and not as a bad thing, but the mental state that it puts me in, the mental stress it puts me in, I don't know if it's worth that right now. So I might just hold off on working out. I might not, I don't know, I'm just taking it day by day. No pressure, nothing, you know, I'm not putting any rules or regulations on myself, but so we are at week 6, and I already have my apps that like kind of track and tell you what's going on week by week, which I really love. It's always so cool to see those visuals and those descriptions. I do have to say, you look at these apps and everything that's happening in these early weeks, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing more. I feel like I should be doing something more. Like, I was actually talking to my husband about it, and I love that he said this. Oh, it's making me emotional. He just said that you have to trust your body. Your body knows what it's doing. Like, it knows what it's doing, and you just have to trust it, right? And after everything that happened, after it taking so long, and it's this new experience of learning to trust your body, that your body does know what it's doing, and that it's, you know, it's miraculous what your body can do when it just left to do it. Like, there's nothing that I need to do extra. Like, I just need to make sure that I'm properly fueling my body and just taking care of my body, and then my body's gonna take care of my little baby. So of course, leave it to my husband to ground me and bring me down to earth. I am so sorry I'm getting so emotional, but I guess this just is what it is. I don't know if it's the hormones. I'm not gonna blame it on the hormones because I'm just a big crier to begin with. But yeah, I really can't wait for it all. Like, I am just beaming. I really can't wait for it all, and I'm really excited to share it. So if you're interested in following along this journey with me, make sure you subscribe, and I will make sure to share as much as possible about this amazing journey that I have waited so long for. Thank you so much for watching.